It was the day that Mick Cronin went silent.
You are Locked On UCLA, your daily podcast on the UCLA Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to this edition of the Locked On UCLA podcast. I'm your host, Zach Anderson-Yoxsimer. Thanks for making this your first listen each and every day. It's free wherever you get your podcast, and it's available on YouTube. So like, comment, subscribe, review. You're an everydayer. We've talked some hoops. We've talked some football, portal, commits, the state of UCLA's NIL. Go check out all those previous episodes and all the more to come. This episode is brought to you by Jase Medical. Just empower yourself when you purchase a Jase case. You get a personal supply of 5 antibiotics that treat up to 50-plus infections. Get yours today at jasemedical.com, J-A-S-E medical.com. Where we start today is, of course, the state of UCLA men's hoops, right? This is a team that has now reached a new low in the Mick Cronin era for how they've struggled this year. This is just gotten as bad as it gets. When you lose to Stanford at home, you lose to arguably the worst team in the conference at home by 9. This is getting brutal for a team that hadn't been too out of games, and this is probably as despondent as the Bruins have been, right? So much so that Mick Cronin did not even attend the postgame presser. Did not even attend the postgame presser because assistant coach Rod Palmer came and said he's still talking to the team close to half an hour after the game ended, giving them a verbal lashing, which is why I'm going to say his silence actually speaks volumes and will tell you the character of this team next, right? Coming up next, you're going to face 2 tournament caliber, NIT caliber teams for this UCLA team coming up. At home and on the road. Utah on the road, you get Washington. Those aren't easy games for UCLA to play, considering they make games tough enough already. So Mick Cronin not showing up for this team, not showing up for the presser, is going to tell us how much this team is going to show up next. What are they learning? What more can they do, the coaching staff, to get it into the freshman's head? All the freshmen, all the youngsters, all the newcomers, every single player on this roster has to take accountability for how this team has just not gotten wins. They're 6-9, 1-3 in Pac-12 play, coming off of the most embarrassing loss this season, 66-57 at home in Pauley Pavilion. 5-10, the Golden Bears are. That was their first win in Pac-12 play, which I think puts the Bruins in a five-way tie for last place in conference, right? A team where I was like hoping, all right, you can get a win against Oregon State. They're super close, probably should have beaten Oregon, and he had the Cal and Stanford games. Man, I was confident. I thought they would come in and absolutely, maybe not wipe the floor, but win these games. Not only did they not, they went to complete opposite direction. Not a 2-2, not even a 3-1 in which they were favored in those 2 games at home. No, they have gone the complete wrong direction. Confidence is shot. So how do they rebuild? How do they turn around this season to give some effort? Not that they're not giving effort. It's not like teams are putting up 80 and the Bruins are just flat out giving up on the fields, right? This team is competing, just apparently not for victories at this moment. I have hope that this team can turn it around. Now, do I have to temper my expectations to, all right, can they win enough games to get in the tournament as an at-large? At this rate, barring winning every single game, probably from here on out, it would take a flat-out miraculous turnaround to win every game to get back into the at-large conversation. If they win all those games, then all of a sudden you're like 20, you got a lot of wins. You'd be like 24-9 or 23-9, something ridiculous with in an 18-game Pac-12 schedule, 15-3 heading into the tournament, right? That would be impressive and probably win the conference. That's not what this team is going to do. Can they get on a turnaround to show some hope, make an NIT, be able to show that they can compete in the Pac-12 tournament, which is large their hope to make the NCAA tournament? Beyond looking at the future, it's the next game against Utah. Brandon Carlson and company, UCLA took Lazarus Stefanovic, and Utah's looking like the much better team. The running Utes are wanting to lay a beat down on UCLA their last chance they go to Salt Lake City as conference foes. So I think the silence speaks so much for Mick Cronin because there's nothing left to do. What can you do to fix a team that can't hit a jump shot to save their offensive basketball playing lives, right? They're 2 of 10 from 3. This is a team that shoots overall as a unit less than 30%. That is not a good three-point shooting team. That is woeful. They had a long streak of making at least one three-point shot in a game dating back to like the early 2000s. And that was not the three-point line, but everybody taking 30 billion threes. Now in a day and age where you have to dominate offensively in the paint or hitting some sort of shots to not hit threes, the Bruins do not do so, even though they can play good to decent defense for large portions of the game. UCLA could not get in the fast break consistently. They had 10 fast break points. You had Cronin losing his marbles, losing his jacket. They got 30 points in the paint. Unfortunately, UCLA can't score outside of the paint. They just almost cannot do so consistently. In a team, you want to see how this team struggles? Let's dial in against Cal. They've made 21 shots from the field against the Golden Bears, which is not going to be enough to win a game. UCLA, 7 assists on those 21 shots. 7 assists. So that means of the 14 other majors, 2/3 of their shots are coming from individual play. And beyond that, they turned it over 12 times, which is not the craziest of numbers. We've seen much worse play, like 16 turnovers a couple times. So that number's gone down. That's still more pain inflicted, self-inflicted, right? Cal scored 15 points off those 12 UCLA turnovers. That's a point per turnover, a little bit better for what Cal did to UCLA, who have had much worse turnover games. And for UCLA, they're not good enough to turn it over 12 times and give up 15 points. That's 15 points they need just throwing up bricks at the rim and getting the rebound and putting it back, getting fouled, making a shot. At some point, the confidence will come back for guys who just aren't making shots. Or guys who are making shots just aren't taking enough. We're having a bad game here and out, right? UCLA, 12 turnovers to 7 assists. That isn't going to cut it. That assist to turnover ratio is backwards, very backwards. The shots made to assists, 21 to 7, and that is not the right proportion. 3 made field goals to every 1 assist on those shots is not going to cut it. For a team that needs to score in the paint, how are they scoring in the paint if they're not giving assists? Now, of course, sometimes once in a blue moon it comes to a scoring decision, but that is clear cut. UCLA is not facilitating the ball as well as they are. And they can't pass it, and when they do, they throw it in the other team's hands. They get stripped. They do dumb things at this moment. The confidence is not there. It's lacking the entire roster. It's not consistent. Yeah, Mac scored 20 points and better than 50% shooting. 3 steals, but turned it over 3 times. Dembona, great, but he turned it over, led the team in turnovers, 3rd of the turnovers. But he plays great with 4 steals, 2 blocks, hit every shot from the floor, almost all of his free throws. But what is it hitting the glass in 23 minutes played with 3 personal fouls, right? When Bona plays less than 30 minutes, the opposition's capable to score 70. You want to do a live same game parlay? If Bona's not playing 30 minutes, the opposition is going to have a decent offensive day. That is clear as day if Bona's not on the floor. Berke in this game, 4 personal fouls, 20 minutes played. Not his best offensive day. 4 points, 2 turnovers, 1 turnover, I should say. He's clearly one of the most gifted offensive players on the floor for UCLA individually. He needs the ball more, even though he didn't shoot the ball that much. Out of rhythm, clearly foul trouble plagued him, and UCLA struggled with him not scoring as much. Dylan Andrews having to play the whole game. There's only so much Andrews can do. And if he's getting 1 assist in 38 minutes, I'm not sure why can't any of the starting point, if your starting point guard is playing 40 minutes and the assist numbers are not better than someone who's playing half of those minutes and he's in the post, there's something either wrong with the offense. I'm not going to slander Dylan Andrews right now, but there's just something completely off there. Something's got to change. At this point, there are no answers, but something is severely got to change for this team to get better offense. And passing the ball where your point guard is not just getting 1 assist in nearly 40 minutes to 12 shots taken. That is not the right ratio this team needs. Andrews is not the 20-point per game scorer that Mac could develop himself to be in a more consistent role later in his career, whether it's in the pros, later in a UCLA career, college career, whatever it may be. UCLA, woeful at this moment. 6-9. It's stunning. It's like, okay, Cal will get them. They can beat a cellar dweller. No, the Bruins are now joining the cellar dwellers right now at the bottom of the conference, and they can't seem to figure it out. Now, can they play a tough road game, play a tough road environment? Can Mick Cronin get to this? It took one verbal lashing from Cronin to the previous year's team for them to understand it and then become one of the best teams in college basketball after losing in Vegas in late 2022. And then all of a sudden the Bruins had a dream team making where the veterans picked it up. This team, it's going to take a while. And Mick Cronin even felt that way after the Stanford game that this team wasn't picking it up. And now it's clear and becoming more clear the struggles that are plaguing this team. I still am a little frustrated that you have McClendon only take 1 shot in 16 minutes, and he made his 1 shot with 6 rebounds. He's got to take more than – if your team can't shoot the 3 and your best 3-point shooter is not taking it, Cronin's got to be like, I need you to take a 3 once in a blue moon. He's not going to hit it off balance 3 as consistently as a Singleton or like crazy off the dribble shooters, but you need some people to shoot the ball, and you need some people to pass the ball. The entire team has to pass it better. You can't be scoring 57 points against Cal at home, right? It's not like it's a packed road environment and they're trying to say goodbye UCLA down. No. It's at home on a Saturday night with like an extra day off in between a Wednesday, Saturday. And it's frustrating. But the silence speaks volumes from Mick Cronin. We will know what type of effort the Bruins get. Would it be surprising for UCLA to go lose by 30 to Utah? No. Would it be surprising that they go get fired up and they win at Utah? Well, how the team's played lately, yes, it would be an extreme surprise. But that would tell you the mental toughness of this team, how they respond against Utah. We'll give keys to that game coming up. But in reality, whatever keys you throw out there, it's can they hit a shot? Can they play clean basketball? And will they, play solid defense? Can Bonus stay on the floor, helping them defensively? And when he's scoring, that's huge. And then can the team play a clean offensive game? They don't need to score 80 for it to be clean. Just doing one of those things can help UCLA claw their way back. I don't know what they're climbing to, but growth is the emphasis now for this season. And maybe at the end of the year could turn into a dream run 1 week in March in Vegas. That's a far ways away. You got to play a good, clean 40 minutes. And this team has not done that yet. 40 minutes of good basketball. And if Mick Cronin yelling at them for an entire post-game speech isn't going to do it, then this team just does not have the moxie. And it's glaring as bad as how tough the team was the year prior to this year's team. It's just pretty glaring, especially for all of us watching. Oh, man, there's a clear difference in the locker room. Not that there's anything wrong. It's just the youth, the inexperience is playing itself out here. And the lack of being able to shoot a jump shot. Man, this team cannot shoot consistently at this moment. Can the confidence get back? We'll find out soon. Speaking of confidence, UCLA women, man, goodness gracious. They are rolling right now. 14-0 after a scrappy week against some tough schools from Oregon. The Bruins knock them both off. Let's review that Oregon State game as they prepare to take on USC for the second time in a couple of weeks. Next on Locked On UCLA. Well, the NFL regular season is all wrapped up now with the playoff action, but still, hey, there's time to get in with all the action on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. New customers can get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. All you got to do, throw a $5 bet, and you get $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. So the app's super easy to use. So many different ways to bet, whether it's a live same-game parlay for UCLA basketball. If you're looking at it and you're like, hey, wait a minute, Bona's not playing. This team's going to give up more points. That's an easy same-game parlay if they're going to read, different things, right? You want to go same game, this. You can do a bunch of different things. Make a parlay, in the Parlay Hub. Best way to find popular parlays. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. All right, cruising on in Locked On UCLA. Now we're talking UCLA women's hoops. The team that's 14-0, swept the Oregon schools, still number 2, can't really get too much closer to South Carolina when it comes to creeping in on who's the number 1 team in the country. Probably a big disparity. South Carolina is now, with Dawn Staley, turned into a name brand women's basketball school. So for the near and definite future, no matter how many times UCLA wins, even if they can beat SC again, if they go through the Pac-12, for now, until South Carolina sustains a loss or is close to losing and the Bruins keep beating teams, UCLA is the number 2 team in the country, right? And it's a gauntlet in the Pac-12. So I do not expect this team to go unbeaten, but they're clearly very good, and they'll be very battle-tested for the NCAA tournament when it comes down to winning time late in games, whether it be against an upstart mid-major or a top-tier team that's competing against them later in March and hopefully in early April. UCLA beat Oregon State in a close one, 65-54. I say close because the first quarter was not as dominant as this Bruins team is used to, right? They're not accustomed to playing closer game in the first quarter. The SC usually the exception. They normally come out and blitz teams right away with dominant defense or just unstoppable offense. This time, 15-11, they played Oregon State, who, is a team that's a solid bunch. They were undefeated heading into Pac-12 play, and now they're seeing the tougher teams, all right, with Reagan Beers, Talia Van Olhoffen. Those are the only 2 players who scored in double figures for Oregon State. Still, the Bruins stingy defensively. The Beavers couldn't hit threes if they needed to. They were 24% from 3. They only hit 40% of their shots, a little under that. UCLA, sluggish offensively. They had a decent number of threes, didn't even attempt one in the second quarter, attempted only 8 in the second half and made 2 of them. And then overall, UCLA got better in the middle quarters offensively and then tapered off a little bit and fell off a little bit in the fourth quarter when it came to knocking down field goals and got outscored in the fourth after a dominant third, outscoring the Beavers by 7. Who are the heroes in this game for UCLA? Well, once again, you got Charisma Osborne. You remember that name? Charisma Osborne had to lead this team in scoring with 15 points and 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals. That is getting your hands in everything, in the passing lanes, in every stat stuffing, in every good version of the word in 35 minutes. A leader when it was a little tough, the game was a little slow, and here we are, Osborne, doing all those things, only committing 1 turnover, and helping lead this team to victory with her scoring. Now, the next thing we need UCLA to have Osborne do is get to the free throw line maybe more consistently, but her ability to hit jump shots will become crucial when games are tighter, they're lower scoring, and you have your longtime UCLA Bruin coming in here, and she can make tough shots. Kiki Rice, again, does a little bit of everything. 13 points, 6 boards, 3 assists in 36 minutes played. Not her most efficient, not the entire team's most efficient night. Yet UCLA was able to get the job done with her leading the charge. London Jones hits a couple of threes, 5 of 12. That seems to be her typical stat line. 5 of 12, 4 of 12, whether it's from 3, from the floor. She'll take a lot of shots, and she can put in double figures. The reason UCLA tends to struggle in some games offensively, you can point to one thing. Unless they cannot hit a jump shot. But they have not caught that lack of hitting jump shot virus from the UCLA men. They have ability to hit a jumper. When the women struggle, when Corey Close's team struggles to score offensively, you can really point to one thing. You can point to, I'm not going to throw this all, but when Lauren Betts is not scoring the basketball as efficiently, right? On a bad night, she still gets 10 points, close to 50% shooting. 25 minutes, she had 3 personal fouls, 4 turnovers. Clearly one of a tougher game for her as a UCLA Bruin. So shouldn't have the most minutes, not the most amount of shots, 10.6 rebounds. When she's getting a double-double, it's practically impossible for UCLA to lose. When they can feed it to her and she's getting points at will in the paint, grabbing all the boards, blocking shots, you're not going to score in the paint. She's going to score in the paint. And UCLA is going to win that battle, and that's going to be the margin a victory for the Bruins. Just her dominance alone have led UCLA to be a top 25 team, Sweet 16 team, cool, to a team that is one of the best teams, probably should be the number one ranked team in the country based on resume, beyond just name recognition value that Don Staley and the Gamecocks provide. The University of Southern Carolina, right? Almost said USC, the real USC. In the meantime, Duga Leach, a little slow game shooting the basketball, only hit one jumper from three. And you saw a lot of from Jaquez, Iwala, less from Cameron Brown. You can see Close slowly shortening the rotation. The depth of this team obviously being tested with Bissoir out for the season, and she provides different skills than Betts does, but it would have been nice to have her ready to play if she was healthy. Obviously, that's not the case with her being out for the season. The Bruins, what do? 8 steals. They forced 14 turnovers in this game against Oregon State, and they score 17 points off turnovers. Get on the break and find ways to slam the door shut. So even when this team is struggling offensively, right, 65 points is them struggling because they can light up the scoreboard as they've done multiple times against good teams, very good teams. Heck, in the net rankings, they're amongst the top 5 teams. You could be a little confused as to why they're above or below teams that they might have beaten or will be playing soon. UCLA they've got staying power. And in their bad games at home, they're still winning against teams that are 12-2, 13-2, right? By 10 or more points. When their best transfer, the number one recruit in the previous year's class, isn't playing as well as she does in a certain game. You're allowed to have off games. And the Bruins still win. That's where every night this team is picking up a different player to dominate and win games, which makes it so exciting to see what happens when they have to adjust, retool, and play at USC's house. I wonder if they'll pack it out the Galen Center for Juju Watkins versus the Bruins Part 2 when the Battle of LA happens round 2. I can't wait. That's USC, who is a top 10 team, because Juju Watkins alone is single-handedly one of the top 5 players in the country, easily. UCLA is going to go play them again. If they sweep them, man, that would be big time. They have a whole week to rest, play USC, and then this is where the middle of January, that schedule gets tough. That's when it gets brutal. They play 3 straight road games now. This is where we can find the toughness of this UCLA team. If they don't take a loss in these next upcoming 3 games, that's going to get interesting for this women's team that's 14-0. They got SC, Colorado, Utah. Utah, who just got upset by Arizona, but competed with South Carolina. They were picked to finish first in the conference. They've got Colorado, who already smacked LSU, and you've got USC, whose only loss was to UCLA. All those on the road in about an 8-day span, Sunday to a Monday, and that is where you go. Not that Washington and Washington State are no slouches, and then you go play Stanford and Cal on the road tournament teams with Arizona, who just upset. That's how tough this schedule is. So this is where we'll find out if UCLA is going to take that first loss or not. But these next 3 games will be very telling. One, how they play against a team they've already played once before. And we'll find out if Lindsey Gottlieb's got something up her sleeve to use to beat UCLA in round 2. Maybe it might be Juju Watkins going for 50. I don't know. But I can't wait. The Bruins are dominating. That Sunday game, the biggest game in the slate. UCLA, man, are just smack your head. The women, boom, knock them out. Go Bruins, beat SC. It's beat SC week again. For UCLA football, though, they do land another transfer recruit, and we'll kind of recap who's coming in, who's not, and who's kind of leaving so far for UCLA. A little brief end of show segment about UCLA football in the transfer portal, because the Bruins got another one. Not a big name that you would recognize, but of course, a very important piece to a football team. I'll tell you next on Locked On UCLA. I know we come to sports to escape some of the crazy realities of real life, but let's talk a minute about preparing for real life. We're in the middle of somewhat of the worst flu season in over a decade. According to the FDA, pharmacies are running out of antibiotics, but with Jase Medical, we'll be okay. The Jase case is a pack of 5 different antibiotics that can help treat a long list of bacterial infections, whether it's a respiratory infection, it's skin infections, more. The stuff can happen to any of us. All you have to do is visit jasemedical.com and complete your physician encounter. It'll be reviewed by a board-certified physician, and your medications will be dispensed by a licensed pharmacy at a fraction of the regular cost. It's never been more important than to be prepared for today, by today, than today. Go to jasemedical.com and use the code Locked On to get $20 off your order. Again, that's jasemedical.com, Jase Medical.com. Use the code Locked On for $20 off your order. All right, cruising on, final segment of Locked On UCLA. Zach with you guys. We're talking the portal. A big name, well, maybe not a big name to most, but an important piece to the UCLA football roster coming in through the transfer portal from Elon. From Elon, it is none other than Ryan Wilkins, who is transferring over, was a redshirt junior this year, hailing from Pennsylvania, 6 foot, 200-pound long snapper, baby. Let's go. He is coming to UCLA. Long snapper love. Why does UCLA need a long snapper? Why? Can anybody raise their hands? Can anybody raise their hand? Have we forgotten? In the long list, let's go over the list of guys who are not coming. 1, Marcus Ratcliffe, who committed and then decommitted. So that's important. He was initially coming to UCLA, no longer. Archie Lopez, he's a kicker. He is no longer. He transferred out, had 1 year of eligibility left, lost to Blake Lesnar, the kicking job. He will not be with UCLA next year. Then you've got Jeremiah McClure, who's got 4 years of eligibility. Of course, we know where John Humphrey went alongside with Kamari Ramsey. You had William Nimmo Jr., Jake Wiley, who already transferred into UCLA. The big names, Dante Moore, offensive piece like Keegan Jones, Cam Brown. Can't forget Carson Ryan. All those guys leaving, going to various places in Pac-12, former Big Ten, future Big Ten rivals. But the one player I forgot, or purposely forgot, did not mention, a 6'4 redshirt senior, 6'4 redshirt junior this most recent season, long snapper Bo Gardner. If you forgot him slipping through the cracks, he's a guy who appeared in every game for kicks and punts for UCLA's long snapper and transferred to Georgia. Yes, even in the world of NIL, they will go find the long snapper on your team and bring him over to SEC ball. That's how crazy college football is. Everyone all the way down to the long snapper is transferring. Even if he played every game, he's going to Georgia. He's going to Athens. That is how ruthless Kirby Smart and the Bulldogs are. They already took UCLA's top recruit in Roderick Robinson from the previous year to go and then take our long snapper. Haven't we lost enough? It's okay. It's okay. Because Ryan Wilkins has transferred in. He accepted an offer. There was an early boom from Ethan Young. And with him then, Ryan Wilkins on his own Twitter saying he's accepted a scholarship offer from UCLA, then that would make sense that he would transition and then be the starter for the Bruins next year as a long snapper. And hey, seeing how much the unit struggled in special teams, long snapping is important. And let's just kind of go over who's coming in, right? With what eligibility. So you've got someone in Wilkins coming in. You've got Busick, a 6'4 edge rusher who is expected to have 2 years of eligibility coming in 2024. You have Collins Achimpong, who's got 4 years of eligibility for Miami, a 6'7", 6'8 defensive end beast to go along with the Navy transfer in Busick. Then you've got Mateen Begani, who might fix the kicking situation considering he walked on Mateen Begani, and he helped fix the Cal situation. And now with 3 years of eligibility, hopefully can fix UCLA's kicking woes in 2024, and they can score a little bit more points, and the Bruins don't have to go for it, 4th and 1, and they can't run the ball up the middle. They can get some points on the board. Rico Flores Jr., a North Highlands native from California, and he's coming back to California to play from Notre Dame, a 4-star recruit, and is expected to challenge for a big-time role, maybe more than what Cam Brown showed last year. Maybe, dare I say, challenge Logan Loya for bigger roles. Challenge the likes of, well, maybe not J. Michael Sturdivant because his role solidified. They just need to give him the ball more. You know, he can challenge for big-time roles. Then you've got Brian Addison, who tweeted recently, the 6'5 senior who's looking to come for an extreme, super long career. His, I believe, 7th season. He tweeted something like he's relieved. It looks like he's able to get that extra year, and Brian Addison will help play in UCLA at a position that they struggle to have depth right now. They just don't have that depth. With graduation, NFL draft, transfers out, and then the lack of a full commitment from Marcus Ratcliffe going to A&M, you've now got Brian Addison, who should be ready to go after he initially signed with UCLA way back when. He's finally coming back home and going to play in the Rose Bowl in his final season as a collegiate player. So UCLA gets a long snapper, a lot of things they still got to get. They still need more from offensive linemen, more depth in the secondary. Just got to add more. Next thing you know, you're going to find maybe they'll turn Kyle Ford into a DB, right? Because they're gonna need so many guys to play corner, safety, and they're not going to turn Kyle Ford into a DB. Who knows? I don't actually know that. I don't know that yes or no, but that's just kind of a joke, right? You've got all sorts of things for UCLA that need to happen for this team to be extremely competitive in the Big Ten in their first year. I do expect to bounce back from the offense as long as they can protect Garbers, run the football more effectively, kick some field goals. You've got two parts, right? You've got the long snapping and you've got the kicker down. Maybe 3 points can help change the complexion of the game, even though the Bruins were one of the worst red zone teams in the country. One of the worst. Absolutely one of the worst. Can they get better at it? I hope so. Otherwise, we'll be in for a long 2024 season, which is why you got to stick here with Locked On UCLA and tune in for all the transfer portal news, coaching adjustments, and everything in between with UCLA basketball and football. Hit that subscribe button. Thanks for your support. Like, comment, review. Hands up, Bruins fans. It's time for an 8 clap. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. UCLA. UCLA fight, fight, fights. This is Zach signing off. This has been Locked On UCLA. Go Bruins.